السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Welcome, dear students, brothers and sisters, to our next session on step number 5. This is going to be our first session on step number 5. Now, every time we move on to next step, it means that you have perfected the previous steps. And we had multiple sessions on each step to show you how to recognize that rule and how to follow it. And of course, the natural way is for you to have a teacher, a mentor, someone who supervises your progress. Because it is very hard to monitor yourself, and it is even harder to to see your own mistakes. That takes a lot of training for you to get to the level where you are able to recognize your mistake. It takes a lot of practice. Okay. There's also an issue of discipline. Will the person be disciplined and consistent in their reading and serious about it? So a mentor really helps. A teacher is highly recommended for you to make some improvement and move forward. So of course, every time we move on to the next rule, we focus on all the rules. So when we were in step 1 and 2, we were focusing on the 6 basics, fundamentals. And then when we move down to step number 3, then we were focusing on step number 3. At the same time, we had to make sure that we do not ignore step 1 and 2. So we were doing step 1, 2, and 3. And then when we moved on to step number 4, our focus was on step 4. By the same time, we were careful and cautious not to skip any of the previous steps, step 1, 2, and 3. Okay? But our main focus was on 4 because that's new. But as for 1, 2, and 3, we have kind of disciplined ourselves throughout exercises to recognize and not to ignore them. Today we are going to move on to step number 5. So our focus will be on step 5, but we have to be cautious to not skip step 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now moving on to the next page. Here we are going to take some exercises on step number 5. And as you can see, step number 5 is on غنة. Nun shadda and mim shadda. Now harfu غنة mushaddad. This one, Noon and Mim. As you know, Noon and Mim, half of this letter comes from the nose. You cannot say Noon or Mim without the nose. Right or no? So, therefore, these are nasal letters. And these letters, you need to because the nose is used, when they have a shadda means it's doubled. When this letter is doubled, then the nasal sound is also doubled, and that is called gunna. So this is a extra gunna. Okay. Now let's move on to the Qur'an, and here we are going to recognize the noon. Let's begin. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أولا يعلمون أن noon has shadda. Again, noon and mim shadda. Whenever they have shadda, you need to produce a gunna. you need to produce a ghunna. A ghunna is holding the nasal sound. Holding the nasal sound for 2 harakat. Holding the nasal sound for 2 harakat. So instead of just simply saying Anallaha, you're going to hold the nasal sound a bit more. Anallaha. See? Anallaha. You hold it extra. Because the noon has shadda. But it's double noon. So double ghunna. So that's called extra ghunna. أَوَلَا يَعْلَمُونَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْلَمُ مَا يُسِرُّونَ وَمَا يُعْلِنُونَ وَمِنْهُمْ there you go, mim shadda again. Nun shadda was here, and we see a mim shadda here. So, mim shadda, nun shadda, both of them hold ghunna. Ghunna, hold the nasal sound for 2 harakat. وَمِنْهُمْ أُمِّيُّونَ وَمِنْهُمْ أُمِّيُّونَ لا يعلمون الكتاب إلا أماني. So we're focusing on previous rules as well. وَإِنْهُمْ إِلَّا يَظُنُّونَ. Nun shadda again here. وَإِنْهُمْ إِلَّا يَظُنُّونَ فَوَيْلٌ لِلَّذِينَ يَكْتُبُونَ الْكِتَابَ فَوَيْلٌ لِلَّذِينَ يَكْتُبُونَ الْكِتَابَ بِأَيْدِيهِمْ ثُمَّ يَقُولُونَ ميم شدة here again غنة. بِأَيْدِيهِمْ ثُمَّ يَقُولُونَ هذا من عند الله ليشتروا به ثمنا قليلا ليشتروا به ثمنا قليلا فويل لهم مما again mim shadda. So what are you going to do? You're going to make ghunna. فويل لهم مما كتبت أيديهم وويل لهم مما يكسبون again ميم شدة غنة وويل لهم مما يكسبون وقالوا لن تمسنا النار نون شدة here again غنة وقالوا لن تمسنا النار إلا 4 حركات مد إلا أياما معدودة. قل اتخذتم عند الله عهدا. قل اتخذتم عند الله عهدا فلن يخلف الله عهده. Now عهده, wow, has a mad because of the hamza after. فلن يخلف الله عهده أم تقولون على الله ما لا تعلمون. بلى من كسب سيئة وأحاطت به خطيئته. The ya is going to be made 4 harakat long because of the hamza after. وأحاطت به خطيئته. فأولئك, wow, you skip here because of the circle on it. The la 4 harakat because of the hamza after it. And أصحاب nun shadda here में غنة. فأولئك أصحاب النار. فأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أولئك أصحاب الجنة. أولى لام فتحة ألف. ألف is long 4 harakat because of the hamza, and noon shadda here غنة. أولئك أصحاب الجنة هم فيها خالدون. وإذ أخذنا ميثاق بني. The ya will be stretched to 4 harakat because of the hamza after. Isra, alif will be stretched to 4 because of the hamza after. بني إسرائيل لا تعبدون بني إسرائيل لا تعبدون إلا الله وبالوالدين إحسانا وذي القربى واليتامى إحسانا وذي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وقولوا للناس نون شدة here غنة والمساكين وقولوا للناس حسنا وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة ثم توليتم ثم ميم شدة غنة وآتوا الزكاة ثم توليتم إلا قليلا منكم وأنتم معرضون. Alhamdulillah. So we have completed one exercise on Noon Shadda and Mim Shadda. We realized there was no qalqala on this page, right? You see, sometimes you don't see that the rule too much. But on this page, subhanallah, we didn't see a single qalqala. Subhanallah. We didn't see a single qalqala. We did see some mad. We saw a lot. We saw mad occasionally. We did, of course, see Mim Shadda, Noon Shadda a lot, very often. So sometimes you might not see the rules. And sometimes you might see it very little, and sometimes you might see it occasionally, and sometimes a lot. So basically we have covered one exercise on Noon Shadda, Mim Shadda. Inshallah, we'll see you on the next exercise on Noon Shadda and Mim Shadda. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.